Hi everyone. So we are doing Flat Stanley activity with some of the classes and some of the teachers. So we're going to read a Flat Stanley book. This one is called Flat Stanley and the Very Big Cookie. Stanley Lambchop lived with his mother, his father, and his little brother Arthur. Stanley was 4 feet tall, about a foot wide, and a half an inch thick. He had been flat ever since a bulletin board fell on him. People in Stanley's town liked having a flat boy around, especially since Stanley was always willing to lend a hand or even a whole arm. He helped the librarian reach books that had slipped under the stacks. He helped the dentist smooth out the new wallpaper for his office. Looks like he found a book under that stack. And there he is helping the dentist flatten out the wallpaper. And when the baker was busy, Stanley helped him frost cakes, 2 at a time. But one day, Stanley and Arthur went to Pete's Sweets and found that the baker wasn't busy at all. Look at his face. He's trying to figure out something. He's kind of got a sad face too. I wonder what happened. What's wrong? Asked Stanley. It's the baker in the next town, said Pete. He's taking away all my business. But how? Stanley asked. What does he have that you don't? 2 words, Pete said. Cake pops. Oh, cake pops. Yummy, said Arthur. Stanley elbowed his brother. What? Arthur said. They are. It's true, and said Pete gloomily. They are yummy. So why don't you bake them too? Suggested Stanley. Look at those cake pops he's thinking of. I never copy another baker, Pete said. I'm the one with the big ideas. The tart trend, I started that. The cupcake craze, me again. Then Pete held up a flyer. It says, Main Street Food Fair. This Saturday, walk our streets, eat our treats. This is my chance to get back my customers, said Pete. I have to think of the next big idea by Saturday. He threw his hands in the air. A cloud of flour flew up. If I don't, my bakery is doomed. Uh-oh. Look at his face. He seems a little scared or concerned. That night, Stanley and Arthur tried to think of an idea for Pete. Mini muffins, bite-sized brownies. Everything had been done before. How about a nice coconut macaroon, suggested Miss Lambchop. The boys didn't know what a macaroon was, but it didn't sound like anything that could beat a cake pop. Look, they're drawing some things they thought maybe could help. Then they got little X marks through. Maybe that won't work. Never know till you try. The next day was Friday. Stanley and Arthur stopped by the bakery after school. It was a mess. There was frosting everywhere. One whole table was covered with cookie dough. Candy balls rolled around on the floor. Uh-oh, look at that big mess in the bakery. I wonder what Pete was trying to think of. Mr. Pete, called Stanley. What's going on? Whoa! Stanley slipped on a candy ball. His flat arms made a windmill as he tried not to fall. Pete came out of the kitchen just in time to see Stanley land smack face first in the cookie dough. Uh-oh. All that stuff was on the floor and he tripped, falling face first on cookie dough. Arthur peeled his brother off the dough. There was Stanley-shaped dent in it. I'm so sorry, Pete, said Stanley. But Pete was staring at the dent with a strange smile on his face. The next big idea, he said. It's big. Pete started racing around the bakery. The boys didn't know exactly what his plan was, but they pitched in. Uh-oh. He's like, I got it. Let's see what he does. Stanley and Arthur helped mix a giant batch of cookie dough. They rolled it out on a table. Then Pete pulled up a chair. Stanley, would you climb up here and fall on the dough again? Okay, said Stanley, but does it have to be face first this time? Pete grinned and shook his head. Look, Stanley looked like he became a roller there to help roll out the dough. Stanley got up on the chair. He took a deep breath and he fell backwards. Perfect, said Pete. Arthur, pull away the extra dough. Pete and Arthur pulled and pulled. Then they helped Stanley stand up. On the table lay a gingerbread boy. It was 4 feet tall, about a foot wide, and 1.5 inches thick. A half an inch thick, just like you, Arthur told Stanley. Only looking good. The cookie looked even better when it was baked and decorated. Wow, said Stanley. This might sound weird, but I might want to take a bite of my head. Not now, said Pete. We have 3 dozen kid-sized cookies to make. Oh, they made kid-sized cookies. Look how big that cookie is. The next morning was the food fair. The Lamb Chops walked down Main Street. Look at that, said Mr. Lamb Chop. There was a huge crowd outside Pete's Sweets. They were waiting to buy kid-size cookies. Look how big those cookies are. Look at all those people waiting to get those cookies. But there were 2 cookies that weren't for sale. These are for you, said Pete. Thanks for saving the day. I always knew I had the sweetest boys in the world, said Mrs. Lamb Chop. The boys groaned. Oh, look, there's one for Stanley and one for Arthur. Just cookie for them. And took a bite. Oh, they were trying the Stanley cookie and the Arthur cookie. I bet it tastes yummy too. I bet you guys can make cookies too.